Kia ora koutou. My name is Sybil Bloomfield. Today I am presenting this paper on behalf of myself and Jacqueline Paul. This paper discusses the cultural values-based approach developed for a design studio where Unitec's Department of Landscape Architecture partnered with Panuku Development Auckland on the Kia Puawai a Pukekohe Town Centre Transformation Project. This case study provides a series of tools regarding diverse approaches to integrating inclusive studios, which aims to inform better long-term outcomes to deliver and build capacity and capability in landscape architecture. The purpose of this paper is to demonstrate how we might decolonise landscape architecture education. This is referenced in particular to a studio-based course in the Bachelor of Landscape Architecture program at Unitec, led by lecturers Jacqueline Paul and myself, Sybil Bloomfield. The aim of this paper is to provide an overview of a case study which contributes to the wider decolonisation of education. The paper is informed by a design studio developed for third-year landscape architecture students for Semester 1 of 2020. The students explore the understanding of mana whenua engagement and placemaking as key elements of community development and urban regeneration. The studio aims to engage students in real-world challenges and projects by building relationships with real clients. This covered problem definition, the identification of latent opportunities, brief generation, site analysis, master planning processes, local scale design responses, and relevant instrumental theory. The course aims to rethink current curriculum in landscape architecture and reimagine how we can transform our environments by growing diversely skilled practitioners. We will utilise Te Tauaki Ako, our ARCO framework, to assess and analyse our teaching practices and processes within a kaupapa Māori context. It is important to identify that the landscape architecture profession has a role and responsibility to uphold te tiriti o Waitangi. In the Aotearoa New Zealand Landscape Charter, produced by the New Zealand Institute of Landscape Architects, the organisation identifies and recognises Māori values. The Charter presents 7 elements which encapsulate the key concepts underpinning the Te Ao Māori perspective on landscape. Landscape architecture as a discipline is at the interface between people and the land. This positions the profession as a powerful tool in navigating the process of decolonising our built and natural environments and repositioning our cities to better honour our treaty partnership. As an accredited degree program, this gives Unitec BLA graduates professional recognition internationally, as it also subscribes the program to the Western educational expectations that reinforce colonial systems. Tuia Pito Ora, the New Zealand Institute of Landscape Architects, or NZILA, specifically acknowledges the importance of embedding mātauranga and te ao Māori, as well as honouring Treaty of Waitangi obligations in the degree and profession in New Zealand, in the NZILA Education Policy and Standards 2016 document. In the New Zealand context, the NZILA encourages the recognition of mana whenua, the culturally shared character of New Zealand's public landscapes, Māori landscape architectural design requirements, and the importance of the legislative and policy framework in addressing these aspects of landscape architectural practice, including Treaty of Waitangi obligations. Decolonisation, once viewed as the formal process of handing over the instruments of government, is now recognised as a long-term process involving the bureaucratic, cultural, linguistic and psychological divesting of colonial power. Decolonising landscape architecture education in Aotearoa is not something we say lightly. Decolonisation involves efforts by Pākehā and Māori to reflectively work together to shape the current and future cultural identities, politics and economics. Decolonisation in the settler colonial context must involve the repatriation of land simultaneous to the recognition of how land and relations to land have already been differently understood and enacted. That is all of the land, and not just symbolically. This is highly relevant as we discuss how landscape architects are instrumental in contributing to the decolonisation of not only education but also the profession. This overarching view provides context and a better understanding of the position that this course sits within, as Western institutions in New Zealand have obligations to uphold and operationalise te tiriti o Waitangi. Unitec honours its commitment to te tiriti o Waitangi through the adoption of the Partnership Agreement Te Noho Kotahitanga. The partnership was based on 5 guiding principles, which include rangatiratanga, whakaritenga, kaitiakitanga, mahi kotahitanga and ngākau mahaki. We acknowledge and recognise that Western-centric landscape architecture curriculum is still prevalent in landscape education. For this case study course, Unitec's Department of Landscape Architecture partnered with Panuku Development on their Kia Puawaia Pukakoi, or Unlock Pukakoi, project. Panuku Development are Auckland Council agents working alongside other parts of council, government organisations, businesses and locals to regenerate the cities in ways that benefit our communities as a whole. Working closely with Auckland Council, including councillors, local boards, mana whenua, the private sector, Crown organisations and local communities to deliver urban regeneration for Tamaki Makaurau. In this project, students explored mana whenua engagement and placemaking in partnership with Panuku as key elements of community development and urban regeneration in response to population growth. This design studio aimed to expose students to real-world challenges and projects to engage and develop relationships with real clients. The students were actively engaging with the studio clients throughout this process to reinforce the relevance of their studio outcomes. The course reinforces and builds on a range of conventions of landscape architectural production introduced in previous studios through the generation of design strategies which address the complexity of context, site and program. Design projects explore the way in which the ideas about landscape, techniques and methods for dealing with landscapes, and ways of communicating about design are all related to each other and can influence the process of design. At the core of this studio was the engagement with and the embedding of Te Ao Māori. This was done through the use of te reo, the practice and acknowledgement of tikanga, and actively embodying Unitec's partnership agreement Te Noho Kotahitanga in the way that we approach the study of landscape architecture. The studio also builds upon and expands the knowledge and engagement in Te Ao Māori previously explored in the BLA program and does not operate in isolation. The intention of this course is to develop and expand the students' cultural literacy, ensuring their ability to better understand and participate more fluently in Te Ao Māori and their practice of landscape architecture. The course structure creates a framework for simulating real-world projects within the constraints of a 15-week semester. The design brief is set by clients and students through the process of interview and research. The students worked in groups for the majority of the course, underpinned by individual work exploring instrumental theory to inform the students' practice. Working in groups, the students were able to support one another in their engagement in this challenging space. The small design projects were done individually, giving the students the opportunity to share their personal design voice. Expectations of the course are a significant step up from previous studios in the program, and the support and collaboration between students and lecturers is critical to the success. Student feedback was collected as part of their final evaluation process, which highlights the value of the group work. Encouraging, enabling and supporting growth and knowledge and the understanding of te tiriti o Waitangi and how we as landscape architects and citizens are responsible as partners is critical to beginning the decolonisation process. We must also note that none of the students enrolled in studio for the 2020 delivery identified as Māori, reinforcing the need to both engage in this learning and to support our students in understanding their responsibilities and potential and value as tangata tiriti. Guest speakers were also invited to share their knowledge, experience and encouragement with the students. 2 landscape architects from both spheres of te tiriti o Waitangi were invited to share their kōrero. Fiona Ting, from Asians Supporting Tino Rangatiratanga, shared her experience as tangata tiriti or tauiwi, and finding agency to engage and design in a Te Ao Māori space. We also had William Hatton, Ngāti Kahungunu ki Wairarapa, Rangitane and Mua Upoko from Bofamiskal, speaking about engaging with mana whenua in landscape architecture practice. It is important we allow our students to understand tangata whenua and tangata tiriti through wānanga and sharing knowledge. This provides a safe space and an engaging conversation to demonstrate how both landscape architects navigate this space. This was a valuable process and part of this course, which is evident from the student feedback as part of the course evaluation process. Decolonising landscape architecture education is instrumental in ensuring emerging practitioners enter the profession with a great understanding of Te Tiriti o Waitangi and commitment to upholding this living document of Aotearoa. The delivery of this course is a part of the paradigmatic shift and transition required in education institutions. All kaupapa Māori values identified in the Tauaki framework are foundational to the ongoing development of landscape architecture in its entirety. Inclusive approaches in education, design and planning enable opportunities for the sharing of knowledge systems, building and strengthening relationships, valuing te reo Māori, empowering and mobilising Māori communities, and ensuring safe and culturally appropriate practices. This course contributes to incremental change and will form future models and applied learning partnerships. The course development was peer-reviewed by the Kaihotu Architecture at Unitec, Kimaro Taiepa, as part of the professional and cultural development. Feedback was received and reflected both the value of the course content and the course delivery in meeting the partnership responsibilities to both Te Tiriti o Waitangi and Te Noho ko Tahitanga. The feedback also acknowledged the groundwork established by the same lecturers in other parts of the BLA program to prepare and support the students in engaging with this course successfully. This feedback is valued. This case study is precedent, which we will continue to build on in the long-term decolonising process. We hope that this will contribute to wider sector and industry changes in the profession, which aim to enhance the cultural literacy of emerging practitioners and landscape architects. We have an obligation under Te Tiriti o Waitangi to ensure that we are pivotal in practice by enabling opportunities for mana whenua and including them in the process from the beginning to the end of projects. Long-term outcomes will mean that iwi and hapu have the opportunity to exercise their tino rangatiratanga on their lands, and we must be engaged in supporting the operationalisation of this process. Decolonising practice is not unique to Aotearoa and should be recognised in the international accreditation of landscape architecture education programs, ensuring greater accountability from institutions. The current low number of Māori students enrolled in landscape architecture programs across Aotearoa is perhaps primarily to do with the low profile of the profession as a whole, although could also be attributed to the more Western-focused approach to landscape architecture and the lack of profile for Māori practitioners overall. Shifting the delivery of the program to better reflect a decolonised profession will not just benefit those Māori students enrolling, but also those non-Māori students graduating into practice and showing leadership in cultural literacy in this gradually decolonising world. Thank you for your time. Ngā mihi nui.